everybody. Welcome to the AFCEA Emerging Leaders webinar. We're super happy that you guys are all able to join. We're going to start off by introducing our moderators and our folks from AFCEA International that are here. And then we are going to introduce our esteemed panelists. So I'll start out. I'm Molly Christie. I'm from AFCEA Kansas City. And really happy you guys were able to make it. Xander, I'll pass it over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Xander Schneider. I'm also from AFCEA Kansas City as well. We'll push that over to Veronica.
Hi, I'm Veronica, and I'm the Emerging Leader Coordinator here at AFCEA International's headquarters, which is located in Northern Virginia.
All right, and finally, I am Allison Hansard. I'm the Inclusion and Diversity Manager at AFCEA International. In that capacity, I oversee our diversity program, IDEA, Women in AFCEA, and Emerging Leaders with Veronica. Thank you.
Perfect. So our agenda for today, we're going to do introductions, and then we're going to have a segment with a Q&A with the panelists. We're also going to go over the Emerging Leaders program and all the resources that are available if you are a current emerging leader or interested in becoming involved in emerging leaders. And then we're going to go into a question and answer from the audience. So if you want to be bold and come off mute and off no video, then please come on and ask a question, or you don't have to turn your video on either. That's fine too. So that's great. Next slide, please. All right, so meeting the panelists here, I'll start left to right. So I'll start with Kim, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Eldridge. I'm a capture analyst at SoftRams, and I'm in the Arlington, Virginia area.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm LeVar McDowell. I'm a business development executive for Title Athene, and I'm also the Emerging Leader Chair for the Central Florida chapter located in Tampa, Florida.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Parker Woods. I am based out of the Alamo chapter here in Austin, Texas. I'm also on the Emerging Leaders Advisory Council, or the ELAC, as the VP of Internal Operations. And as part of that role, I oversee the awards and membership committees. And in the past, I've also helped out with the panels and events subcommittees as well. So all that's to say, happy to connect you with any of the panels at any of the AFCEA international conferences if you would like. Happy to discuss more. Thanks.
And hey everyone, I'm Lorenzo Paluzzi, calling from Falls Church. I do live in Raleigh, but I am the president of the Emerging Leaders for the DC chapter. It's nice to see everyone today.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we are going to go into the moderated Q&A section. I'll go through the first half or so, and then I'm going to pass it over to Xander to moderate the rest of it. But I will start off asking Kim this question. Can you please share a brief overview of your career path and how AFCEA has influenced your journey?
Sure. So my career started off in the healthcare field. I did all types of healthcare work. I was in EMT, I drove ambulances, and then I became a nurse. And I was working in all types of nursing environments. And then I was working in the emergency room. COVID hit. That was a wild time. And then after that, I made a pivot to the sales world, which then led me to business development. And I was working for a commercial company. And one of my roles was to try to get that commercial company into the public sector. And so I did my research, figured out about AFCEA, and I essentially used it as a platform to grow my network, help grow the business. And I've been sticking with AFCEA ever since.
That's great. I love that AFCEA as like a way to pivot and bring yourself into a new field and make a statement there. I love that. Okay, LeVar, how about the same question? A little bit about your career path and how AFCEA has influenced that journey.
Yeah, so I joined the Army at the ripe age of 17 years old and went off to basic training Did 12 years active duty as a signal soldier. So started out as a tactical communicator and eventually transitioned to doing more of IT systems and network engineering. Found myself here in Tampa, Florida. I was DIA support in CENTCOM and SOCOM. And in 2014, decided to transition from active duty to become an Army reservist, which I'm still an Army reservist. I got 22 years in service, and I'm assigned to UCOM in the J3 as their senior operations NCO over in Stuttgart, Germany, but reside in Tampa, Florida. When I transitioned from active duty, that's when I got my first exposure to working in industry, and I joined a small business as a project manager and did that for a couple of years, and then actually went back to my technical roots and was a senior engineer for supporting actually UCOM and AFRICOM. Moved back to Tampa, Florida in 2019, and that's when I fell into business development. So took over as the BD and account manager for the small business I was at, and eventually transitioned my career to Title Athene about 3 years ago. As far as how AFCEA has influenced my journey, it's been a tremendous influence. Being a business developer, a lot of it is networking. A lot of it is working alongside not only the industry, but also with the military organizations that we support. And AFCEA has a good community of that. So being able to network with my customers, my peers, and mentors, AFCEA has given me a great platform, to do so.
Definitely. Yeah. The networking part is great. And LeVar brings it with him this very amazing career in the Army. So he's bringing us that military side point of view here. So we appreciate that a lot. Lorenzo, how about the same question, your career path and AFCEA's influence?
Yeah, so I kind of fell into AFCEA from a couple different angles. After college, I was looking, I've jumped around a couple jobs, and then I found a sales job. And Imix Group was a corporate sponsor at the time for AFCEA Nova. So I started helping out with Lloyd, McCoy, and a few other folks. It was like colleagues of mine that kind of pulled me in, started introducing me to customers, and I was kind of in an outside facing role, account management role. So it was like really good to kind of get laps with different folks throughout the industry. And then I stayed with AFCEA Nova for quite a while before transitioning to DC. I've used it mostly for networking and business development, but I also get a deep sense of joy from giving back and volunteerism. My family all served in the military. My brother just transitioned out of the Air Force. My dad was Air Force, and my dad's dad was Army Air Corps. So it was my way of getting back involved into the community and giving back. At the same time, helping my career move forward by creating, lasting connections with, leaders in the military and across the government.
Yeah, and it's great. Wherever you go, most places, if you're in a bigger city, there's an AFCEA present. So when you move somewhere new, always like-minded people that you can connect with, which is amazing. Parker, what about you? Same question.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think it's literally not an exaggeration to say that I wouldn't be in my current role without AFCEA. So I've worked for Equator Corporation, which is a veteran-owned business since 2018. And I was supporting NASA in their Science Mission Directorate as a cybersecurity engineer. And I was helping support one of the Alamo chapter Austin socials, evening socials that we have there, one of their happy hours, and ran into another Alamo AFCEA business. And it was through that partnership that we went after a contract, won that contract for NASA, and now serving as the project management curriculum lead for NASA's technical workforce, supporting their training courses that they put on. So it's amazing where AFCEA will take you, including job changes, as I think a few of us have talked about here. So really blessed for the relationships and friendships that I have through the Alamo chapter.
Love that. Yes, you brought the Alamo to Austin. Okay, moving on to, it's kind of a similar vein that we were just hitting on, Parker, but in what specific instance has AFCEA directly contributed to your professional development or helped you overcome a career challenge? Maybe I'll start back with you, Parker, and we can go back the other way.
Certainly. So in part of my experience with AFCEA, I've had the opportunity to to help oversee the panels that are at each of our international conferences, West, TechNet Cyber, and TechNet Augusta. And through some of those panels, I know I've learned so much about different technological trends that are in the industry. And when I think of this question, the answer to that about how has AFCEA impacted my professional development? Just hearing what the latest trends are, hearing what the buzzwords are, looking at some of the banners, right? Some of the labels, the marketing materials that they had, and seeing how AI was being incorporated into this, some of their different chipsets, some of the different advancements that way. So it's exciting. I think that AFCEA is really on top of all the latest and greatest as far as what's going on in cyber. So really pleased to be a part of it.
Yeah, just by being at events, you can kind of learn a lot about how to speak the right language that you need to be speaking to your potential customers. So, Lorenzo, is there a specific instance that AFCEA has directly contributed to your professional development or career challenge that it helped you overcome?
Yeah, I think we'll all kind of have some similar trends that we talk about. But for me, every time I've wanted to switch it up and try something new, while keeping the same relationships and customer base, because I'm fickle when it comes to IT and I like to learn new things as well. So it's, whenever I want to try something new and find a new career at another organization or exciting technology, just the networking on the IT side from the, what's out there in the world, to Parker's point, is like really, really interesting. And especially some of the unique capabilities that exist within the warfighter community that really, those kind of opportunities don't exist in the commercial space all the time. So it's just really intriguing. So every time I've been looking for a new career or I'm not very happy with where I'm at or I want something new to spice up life, and it's been a really great avenue for me to meet folks and find new opportunities to work for.
Yeah, I love that. You're still staying close to like tech and DoD and IC and your passion, but you can find a different kind of right turn to take in your career, staying with but the community that you're passionate about. So I love that. LeVar, same question for you. Is specific way AFCEA has contributed to your professional development or overcome a challenge?
Yeah, I would say mentorship. Right, being in the Army for 22 years, from day one you start getting mentored, right? And AFCEA has continued that culture of mentorship even as I transition from active duty. One significant challenge that AFCEA helped me overcome with the likes of mentorship is, I've only worked for 3 organizations my entire adult life, and that was the Army for 12 years, the small business for 7 years, and now Title Athene for 3 years. But during that transition, when I was looking at going from the small business to Title, a lot of anxiety, making that career change, right? And the mentors that was surrounding me, to ask for advice or input or, just guidance, that mentorship was vital to help me make the right decision, not only, where to go and where to pivot, but how to do it. I see one of my retired command sergeant majors, David Fleming, on the call now. He continues to provide that mentorship. And he's not in the emerging leader age. He's much older, but that culture of mentorship definitely is available to the emerging leaders, throughout the organization. And that's been huge for me, making some of those vital career shifts and moves.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to ask people at your own company. So having that network of people that understand what you do on a day-to-day basis, but are, with another group so that you can really bounce off those maybe hard ideas off of. So I love that. Kim, same question. Is there a specific career challenge to help you overcome or just professional development in general?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my big challenges was to get my company, who only had commercial experience, and to get the foot in the door with the public sector. And I did a ton of research, tried to teach myself stuff. I went to other consulting companies and said, hey, how do I help penetrate this agency or do that? And I would receive quotes for, you need a team of X amount of people, tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars in fees and whatnot, and it might not work. And essentially, I found AFCEA, I grew my network, I adopted mentors, I asked a ton of questions, I showed up, I took leadership roles, and essentially I was able to get my company into the public sector, party of one, party of me. And I'm very proud of that, but there's no way I could have done that without AFCEA, and especially help of my mentors and network and the resources that were able to be accessible to me through my involvement with AFCEA.
Yeah, mentorship is huge. Having fellow emerging leaders that you can talk to, but also, the older folks that come with all of that experience that can really help you reflect on they've been where you are now. So having that mentorship is huge. Okay, let's talk about the specific resources that you might have utilized from AFCEA, and maybe what you've done that you found to be the most valuable, like what opportunities from AFCEA that you found to be the most valuable, what you've been involved in, what you've taken advantage of. I'll start with Lorenzo on that one.
It's a great question in the sense that there's just so much to kind of reference there, but I guess I'll reference something that I experienced recently. I really never expected to be awarded anything for working with AFCEA, but a colleague within the DC chapter had nominated me for like emerging leader of the year, which Kim was also there with me. And that was a really cool experience. And it's not something you don't get necessarily accolades for being a great salesperson. I mean, you get commission, but like the actual getting something of like community value is not something that I normally would get out of my career. So that was really rewarding for me. But I don't know if I answer that question well, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Getting awards is always great. LeVar, what about you? Is specific resources from AFCEA that you've taken advantage of, or specific opportunities AFCEA has provided you that you found to be the most valuable?
Yeah, two things come to mind, right? So the monthly luncheons that we have, right? That time to get together, with the chapter, and normally they have a guest speaker, that brings good content, good perspective. But I would say, considering my background of being a former technical person, and now I'm in this world of business development, I don't get to do the techie stuff as much. But going to the different tech nets, around the country and around the world has been awesome. You get out there with industry, you get to see what's the latest and greatest technology. You get the feedback from the different AORs, right? Whether that's in TechNet, EndoPac out in Hawaii, or whether that's TechNet Transatlantic, over in Germany, TechNet Cyber that's coming up, next month, getting exposure to the latest and greatest technology and how industry is really trying to get ahead to help, DOD and the federal government, solve some of their issues and be, advancing their technology. So I would say that's probably one of the tools that I enjoy the most, staying connected with the technical, technology and cyber and AI and all the things that's going on there.
Yeah, and all the amazing panels and events that you can go to while you're at those things. Parker, speaking of panels, what about you on that question?
Yeah, there are just so many resources that AFCEA has, as I did mention earlier a little bit, some of the panels and having the opportunity to speak with and help prepare these panels with some of our moderators and speakers that have gone on and spoken on AI, and machine learning topics there at some of our AFCEA international conferences. I know that the Disruptive by Design articles are just a really great opportunity to kind of get your name out there, your company name out there, and just, opportunity to message, right? And try to shape the industry a little bit, right? By presenting your disruptive idea of where you think the industry is going to be going. So I certainly resonate with that and what LeVar said as well. Just, some of these different tech talks and monthly luncheons where you get to hear from some of the senior leaders within, at least in the Alamo chapter. I know we have Lackland Air Force Base and the NSA San Antonio crowd that are there, Military City, USA. So lots of really great senior folks that you can network with and learn quite a bit from.
Yeah, most definitely. Kim, what about you?
Yeah, so I would say utilizing the volunteer opportunities that AFCEA gives me. And not only is it one of the situations where you get what you put in, but when you do show up and put time and effort into the organization and helping, whether it's a committee, an IT day, or whatnot, people notice those efforts. They recognize you. And especially those who really understand and appreciate the AFCEA mission or whatnot, a lot of these are key stakeholders involved with the organization, and it does give you that platform to be able to maybe go up to someone who you're working on a committee with for Army IT Day or whatnot, and it gives them a level of, hey, this person's not just someone in industry who does their shows up to their 9 to 5 or whatnot. They're going above and beyond, and it gives you a level of credibility that has served me well with having these conversations that I wouldn't have had the grounds or even confidence to maybe do in the first place. So that, I would say, has been a very important part of my experience.
Yeah, and those of us that are in business development, having the opportunity to, talk with folks that are in industry, but also in uniform for a reason besides, trying to sell them something all the time, being able to build a relationship that's based on like personal mutual interest instead of just like, here's my company, here's what I do. I think that is like one of the best parts about being involved in AFCEA. Everyone's like has the, very like-minded in terms of their goals of what they're trying to achieve. Okay, cool. Xander, I'll throw it over to you.
Awesome. Cool. So we've had a great talk with some of the panelists about some of the individual experiences they've had. We'll start with Parker. So with that in mind, what advice would you give to a young professional looking to kind of leverage AFCEA for their professional growth?
I think there are just so many mentorship opportunities. I think that so many of those that I've met in AFCEA are just so warm and welcoming, and some of our senior leaders are more than happy to, and even some of our fellow emerging leaders that are a little bit, older within the under 40 crowd are happy to share advice about, what to do in situations, whether to attend grad school, whether to take an opportunity, a job opportunity that's a, cyber-oriented career path, something like that, right? There's so many different mentorship opportunities. I would just ask around, find someone, develop a relationship with a friend in AFCEA, and just and see what opportunities there are within your chapter for mentorship. And I think that one other topic I'd like to highlight is the fact that, the companies that I've met within AFCEA really support those of us, especially the emerging leaders that want to get involved in AFCEA, right? They see the value that we bring by going to some of these events and networking and branding for their company, right? And learning more about the latest trends. So hopefully, asking your company for opportunities for, to be able to attend these events, I think you'll find a lot of support for that as well.
Yeah, that's great. Companies can be really useful for something like that. Lorenzo, what are your thoughts on that? Advice for young professionals doing things through AFCEA?
I think everyone is going to have a different path, right? And I think normally that path comes from like a mutual connection. A colleague that you work closely with, a colleague you want to work closely with, friends that you want to make, or the region that you settle into, or wherever the new job is, or where you're you're staking your claim and building your home for the future. And I'd say the advice that I'd give to anyone, they're looking to get involved in AFCEA is to find something that resonates with you. Find an event, a committee, a cause that fits under the umbrella, and put yourself into it and really test to see, if it works for you or if it's not. That it's a very flexible organization. And there's a lot of different opportunities for all the ways that we all differ in how we are rewarded and what we like to do. So I'd say get involved, learn about the organization that you're local to, find a friend in that has mutual interest to you, and buddy up, because I've made a lot of great friends from being here, and I think that's probably aside from the career opportunities, one of the main reasons I've stayed with the organization is because of all the friends I've made. So I think that's good advice for me, as best I can provide.
Sure. Yeah, the social fulfillment is definitely an added bonus with some of the career benefits. LeVar, anything you'd like to add on advice for young professionals working their way through AFCEA?
Yeah, as probably the oldest emerging leader on the call, right? I'm 39, and I got about 18 more months before they push me out. So I laugh when Parker alluded to the older emerging leaders. I love it. But with that, the advice I would give is really, I would say service, right? I think it was Kim that mentioned, find a place to serve. And so often, when you work in a sales role or a business development role, it's gimme, but this organization gives you the opportunity to truly give back, right? And whether that's to the chapter, whether that's to the military community, or, what we're trying to do in Central Florida, to really be, to give back to the community that we live in, that community service aspect. You reap what you sow, or some people call it karma. But, I think if you actually come in with a heart of a volunteer to really want to give to an organization, that service is very important, to, giving back to the community that we're living in, that we're serving.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim, we've covered all the advice ground, but I'll swing it over to you to see if you've got anything to add on to more advice for young professionals.
Yeah, so I would say to continue to ask questions and be on the lookout for mentors, and also remind yourself that your mentor could also be someone who has the same experience level as you, and you don't always look up the chain, and they usually then can see eye to eye with you a little more and have that perspective and help solve problems that that maybe they just solved that you're about to solve or whatnot. So have an open mind with mentors.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, we're gonna go right back to you with looking forward. How do you plan to engage with AFCEA to continue either advancing your career or supporting your community?
Yep. So I want to continue volunteering with AFCEA, being on the lookout for my mentors, and also constantly reflecting on, hey, what do I wish that I had that could help me excel in my career or whatnot, because other people are probably experiencing that too, and kind of having that on my radar, and then to be able to keep note of it and try to make it happen to try to help others.
Yeah, awesome. And now we'll swing up to LeVar for, how do you continue to interact with AFCEA and support your community?
Yeah, so I was recently assigned in Central Florida, took the emerging leader chair position, right? And I asked for it by saying, hey, we should be doing more. When I travel around a lot and I look at some of the great chapters like Alamo, and I look at the emerging leaders in Belvoir and DC and Nova, and I see so much activity, and I see such a community of young professionals and young military members, just really getting together and fellowshipping and supporting one another. So I really stepped up, to say, hey, let's revitalize the program that in Central Florida to really build and model some of these great chapters, right? So, like I said, I got about 18 months left, and it's my intent to lay a solid foundation, to build a community and evangelize, the benefits of emerging leaders, the membership of AFCEA, and how that can really advance your career and your personal and professional development. So I look forward to continue to engage by simply helping start, a good program here in Central Florida and take advantage of the community that we have that's available.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's really great to have a bunch of young people, like-minded people get together and talk about these things. And we'll move on to Lorenzo. How are you planning on continuing to engage with AFCEA or support your community?
So the pathway that is most interesting to me, since I most recently moved, but I'm still very dedicated to the DC area, but I want to leave a really good structure for the DC area, leave a legacy there that they can build on, and then I really want to innovate and start something new. So I've been talking to different leaders across AFCEA about innovating both how we connect and communicate across the organization, as well as reach out to new communities. I just recently moved to the Raleigh area, and I really do love it. And I will always feel like DC is a piece of me and home. So I want to have that tie back, but also be able to develop something for the long term of where I might live for a while. We'll see what what life holds, but I would really like to connect with the STEM community more and more. Connect with young folks that are going to some of the great schools in the Research Triangle and build kind of a new adjunct group. So that's an idea that I'm working on. I've started to lay some seeds, but it's going to take some while to build, and a lot of hands and community like yourself. So
yeah, lofty goals, but I think a lot of us on the call can kind of relate to that desire to grow in community, either new or old. And Parker, how are you going to continue your engagement with AFCEA or your community?
Resonate with what Lorenzo just said as well, helping some of my coworkers, helping some of my friends get connected with AFCEA and see some of the different resources that are out there. I know with the new Space Coast chapter, recommended the other day one of my friends to that new chapter as well. So would love to continue to see that emerging leader program grow. And then here in the Austin area, I see Herbie online as well, and some of the different Alamo chapter folks from the EL chapter there. So would love to continue to grow that community as well. So and beyond that, maybe maybe an article, right? Maybe continue, like I said, just help change the industry by pushing some of the different hardware enforced cybersecurity options that are out there. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of tying into that, I know you had spoken earlier about some of the kind of AI ML stuff you've noticed through different events. Is there any other specific examples of an emerging technology or industry trend that you've become aware of because of your involvement in AFCEA?
Yeah, it's always funny going to some of the different AFCEA conferences and seeing some of the different language used by some of the different federal agencies. At TechNet Augusta last year, I saw zero trust everywhere, the ability to trust your data that actually inspired one of the panels that we'll be having here coming up at TechNet Cyber on zero trust capabilities. And so seeing those sorts of buzzwords, seeing that sort of language certainly influenced me. And then, seeing some of the different scalable, flexible, software capabilities that like our TechNet Cyber show. So, just always looking for some of the latest and greatest, seeing what our different federal agencies, what their approaches are, what their architectures are, and connecting with those customers. It's something that I always learn about and find very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely remember seeing a lot of the zero trust stuff at West as well. Lorenzo, what about you? Any specific examples that you can draw that you've learned about through AFCEA?
I took an interest in big data and AI about probably like 8 years ago because of a panel that I had helped put together with some folks for Nova, and that was like I guess at that point in time it was kind of the new thing, and now look what it is now. It's like all we can talk about as a society. But like in the old days of what was the capacity of computer vision? What could a computer understand like a human? Was that natural language processing and machine learning and optical character recognition? Those were really compelling technologies for at the time where the government was heading, which was really trying to go back through everything and digitize all of their assets and all of their knowledge so that they could push themselves forward into the future and be able to build upon what they'd already, built a record of. And it crosses over into so many research projects, whether that's in energy and defense and what we've built for different applications. So it's really interesting to build or have learned about what what that was being built for, right? Which was really to inform the next generation of builders and creators. So that was a really cool technology piece that I learned about years ago.
I'm glad it's had such a lasting impact. So moving on to LeVar, what about you? Any specific examples of technology or trends that you were not aware of until AFCEA involvement?
Yeah, so I'm gonna sound like a broken record, right? But it goes to AI, right? So I remember sitting down with a senior executive leader of a combat command, and he said to me, there's this thing out there called Chat GPT, and he goes, why in the heck can I not have that on my classified networks to make my operators sitting in the Mission Command Center more effective, right? We aggregate all this data together, and we have all this data that we have humans, actually going through and doing the analysis. And with humans, there's a limitation of resource. There's a cost associated with that. And then there's also, technically, we're slower than the machines, but now at a recent AFCEA or TechNet, I actually saw a demonstration, where there's companies starting to develop that capability to actually use AI, in that sense where you can get on a classified network and it can process that data in seconds, what would take us weeks to do, and really spit that out to make, your operations, from a J3 or S3 or G3 perspective, way and far more effective, and giving those analysts and the military intelligence far more data very quickly. And along those lines, I've seen a demonstration at that same show where, still AI, but, companies are developing bots that are operating as help desk and network administrators, where it's really, we're not getting any more people, so to speak, some of these organizations because of budget, but we're leveraging the technology more to fill that gap. So I got to follow behind Parker and Lorenzo and say AI, is really having a huge impact on the industry. And yes, zero trust is one of those buzzwords that you see everywhere. Zero trust, data centricity, and software-defined networking, all this stuff. But AI takes it from me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think anyone wouldn't complain for a little extra manpower here and there we can do. Okay, now on to Kim. Any specific examples you can provide?
Yeah, so I would say more of an industry trend that I recognized was the power of in-person. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if something can be done remotely, or, if a call can be an email, it should be an email. I'm all about streamlining efficiency or whatnot. But I do appreciate how AFCEA does get you out of your comfort zone and to remind yourself that, doing something in person and talking with a few people in person will always be better than 100 cold calls or emails or whatnot. And I appreciate AFCEA for, getting some of that stuff on my calendar and giving me that opportunity. Sometimes I'm kind of at my desk in my zone, in my remote world, but it's important to get out there and remember that this is a relationship business and you can only go so far with your cold calls and emails and whatnot. So that's an industry trend that I think AFCEA has helped with, is reminding the power of in-person and not losing sight of that, yet still balancing the efficiency and effectiveness of our remote/hybrid world.
Yeah, very happy with the balance that AFCEA has provided for us to be able to do these things in person and online. Okay, so that's all the questions we had. Thank you so much, panelists, for all of your awesome responses. I'm going to pass the baton over to Veronica, who is going to provide us with a couple of different resources for people who are interested in learning more about the emerging leaders, getting involved, and vice versa. So on to you, Veronica.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Allison, if you could just pull back up the slides, that'd be great. So thank you guys so much for speaking. I always love hearing how other people have benefited from AFCEA. I think that's definitely my favorite part of this job, is just learning all about everyone's different career paths. So just jumping into the Emerging Leaders Program a little bit more, you guys are probably all familiar, but the program is catered for people 40 years and under and gives them that chance to network among their peers, but it's also a great way to further your career and get to work and meet alongside those leaders in government, military, and industry. Allison, if you could go to the next slide. So getting involved with your local chapter is one of the best ways to get the most out of your membership. And so, you know, your local chapters are going to have different networking opportunities to build those relationships that can really lead to your career advancement. There's tons of professional development on the local level, as well as mentorship. And, you know, Kim spoke a lot about that volunteer work with the community engagement. And then over on the international level, some people, you guys might be part of chapters that maybe don't have an Emerging Leaders Program close to you. So there's definitely ways for you to get involved internationally. Some of the great ways to get involved is you can expand your, you know, network globally. You can join one of the subcommittees that we have with the Emerging Leaders. And then one of my favorite things is that we do is the awards that we give out, and I'll get into that on another slide. Also, if you could just go to the next one. So we have Parker Woods here, who is on our Emerging Leaders Advisory Council. And so the Emerging Leaders Advisory Council, it's the governing body that's going to provide all the guidance and support to all our Emerging Leader chapters around the globe. And so, you know, their purpose is to just provide that leadership guidance and mentorship to the different chapters, but they're also there to help you guys as well. Allison, could you go to the next slide? So here's just a broad overview of the Emerging Leader Advisory Council. So you have Allison and myself. We work over at International. And then we have two co-presidents, Stephanie Hutch and Ryan Mahoney. Then we have a couple of different VPs. We have our VP of Europe, so that's Christian Weber, and our VP of Internal Operations, Parker Woods, here with us today. John Stressing is our VP of Internal Operations, and then Peter Guo is our VP of International Indo-Pac. And so underneath those VPs, we have a few subcommittees, and if you guys are interested and want to join one of those committees, please email me and we can talk more about that. We have our mentorship committee, our awards committee, chapter engagement committee, and then people on the panel spoke a lot about our events and panel committee, which is fantastic. So if you guys are interested in joining one of those and want to help a little bit more on the international level, please shoot me an email. Next slide. So this is a great opportunity to grow your personal brand. Every member of AFCEA gets a copy of Signal magazine, whether it's digital or physical copy. So there's a section in each magazine dedicated to just the emerging leaders writing a column on a technical topic. And so if you are interested in that, please let me know. We will help you along the entire process. And so those are going to be a little bit more technical based. But if you want to be on our podcast, we're always looking for people to speak on our podcast. And that can be a little bit more about your career path, how you got to where you are. It's a little bit broader of what you can talk about. But we're always looking for people that want to join there. And it's just really awesome for you guys to be on an international podcast and have your work published. Next slide. So twice a year, there is a chance for you guys to win an international award through the Emerging Leaders Program. And then these awards are going to be presented at AFCEA's major conferences. So the 40 Under 40, which is presented in Baltimore at TechNet Cyber, that is a little bit more based on what you've done in your career. And then the two others, Distinguished Young Professional and Emerging Leadership, those are presented at our conference in San Diego West. And those are more about your involvement with AFCEA and your volunteer work. And then I also just want to give a huge shout out to Kim, because she actually won another award that we have, which is our Emerging Leader of the Year. So she won that one, and you guys could too if you really get involved with AFCEA and volunteer. So if you guys want to learn more about those, you can find that on our website, or you can always shoot me an email and I can walk you through that. So very excited to go to Baltimore in June and get to honor our awardees. And then, you know, please reach out, keep in touch, follow us on social media. Make sure you're following us. That way you get the latest news on what's going on. And then I'm always happy to jump on a call and connect with you guys to help you figure out how to get the most out of your membership, connect you with your local chapters and things like that. So don't be shy, please reach out. And now I'll pass it back to Molly.
Awesome. Thanks, Veronica. Yeah, we will definitely send out these slides for everyone that's in attendance. So that brings us to our last little segment. This is the Q&A from the audience. So if anyone has any burning questions they want to ask the panelists, please feel free to come off mute and ask those questions. You can also type them in the chat if you're more comfortable with that. Also love people putting in their LinkedIn in the chat if you want to do that as well. I know there's a lot of people that like to connect on there. Felicity, is there an alumni network for emerging leaders or a Slack channel? That's a good question. I
think I can field that, Molly. So, you know, with the Emerging Leaders Program, potentially being a part of all of our 139 chapters here at AFCEA, that would be a very big group chat. I don't think it would ever stop dinging. So there are different group chats at the chapter level, and then also we do group chats for events. So for TechNet Cyber, Veronica and I will probably have a group chat for everybody to coordinate kind of where they're going to be and what nightlife stuff is going on. Outside of that, I would suggest, you know, asking at the chapter level or, you know, contacting myself or Veronica if you need to get in touch with people or want to be more in touch with people, we can assist you with that.
There is a LinkedIn group too that people should request to join. I don't have the link offhand, but we can send that as well.
Well, so since nobody's asked, well, only a few people have asked a couple questions and dropped a LinkedIn, I was going to turn the question back around to the interviewers to see what are some of the goals that you want to see this year? What are some of the things that you're really driving towards so that everyone here on the call can align with that as well? I know you've laid out a couple different avenues, but you know, what are some of the, I guess, indicators or goals that you're looking to accomplish that we can all support you with?
I think one of our main goals is obviously to get an Emerging Leaders Program in every single chapter that we have. That would be huge, and to just grow every single one. We have had so many new chapters this year, and actually a lot of new chapters in Europe. So that's really just great to see, and just really expanding on that. So that's definitely one of my big goals. And I think this webinar here is actually a huge step in that direction, just kind of connecting everyone and informing people more about all the benefits of the emerging leaders. So kind of doing more of that outreach, I think, is going to be a huge goal for us as well.
Yeah, Veronica actually is working with our marketing team right now and doing a really fantastic job of making sure that people understand that we don't know how old you are unless you put your date of birth into your AFCEA profile. So I'm not going to guess if somebody's an emerging leader or not. You know, I'm almost aging out, and I wouldn't want anybody to guess that. But I think, you know, making sure that we have this actual data and then we're able to reach out to people, because I know a lot of folks weren't receiving information about the program. So we're working towards fixing that, which will hopefully grow things. And I've seen a lot of growth, you know, with the end of COVID. Everybody is so excited to get back in person.
Hey guys, this is Stephanie Hutch. I can share, you know, some of my goals. You know, I talk with Ryan, the co-president, quite often about what we're excited about, you know, for this year, looking at it from sort of leading the organization and the advisory council. You know, like every organization, participation comes in waves. And I think we're at a really exciting point right now where there's a lot of momentum. Just looking at some of the attendees, I don't know most of you, which is actually really exciting because that means it's a lot of new interest and a lot of new folks coming into the group. So for me, it's about being focused on building the community and really strengthening some of the programs and things that we already have in place and building on that.
Yeah, I guess I want to ask the audience, what would you guys like to see for the future of the program? Where are areas that you need assistance with, or what are gaps that we aren't fulfilling? Nothing? Wow, we're amazing, guys. Great job. We can all go home.
I have a comment. This is Meher Sood. Thanks for having this panel. I'm a manager at KPMG Federal Advisory, and I heard the panel talk about most of them being in business development and how they can grow their business. But for those of us who are not in that sector, not in BD or not working within BD, what kind of opportunities do we have for maybe the more technical folks? I know you guys briefly touched on it, but would just love some additional insight.
So, as I shared a little bit earlier in the segment, some of my experience includes supporting NASA as a contractor and as a cybersecurity engineer within the Science Mission Directorate, right? And so definitely always on top of some of the strategic requirements that we developed at the operational technology OT side of things. And so as far as AFCEA resources, I mentioned some of the panels as an opportunity. If you or someone you think would be a good fit for serving on one of those panels, that's certainly an opportunity to network with other technical folks and to support AFCEA in that way, and to help raise awareness of some of the different cybersecurity trends that you're seeing as well, right? And then some of the articles, the signal articles that Veronica spoke about a little bit, the disruptive by design articles, that's an article specifically designated for emerging leaders to kind of share about what they're seeing in the cybersecurity space, right? And so, or the cyberspace, I should really say. So that's just a great opportunity if you want to write something. And then also the podcasts, right? I think I think that would be a really great opportunity as well. If you'd like to sit down with Kimberly Underwood and share that on a podcast. Our podcast is on Spotify and I'm sure a whole bunch of other channels as well. And so that's just a really great opportunity for technical folks to get the word out and to listen as well on some of those technical topics.
That was really helpful.
Great.
Thank you.
So awesome. We did have a few questions come into the chat that are more kind of admin stuff on our side. So I'll go ahead and answer them. So when you join the Emerging Leaders Program, you are welcome at any chapter event anywhere. That's the same with all of AFCEA. You join AFCEA and we associate you with your local chapter, but you are more than welcome to be a part of any other chapter events. Being a part of AFCEA, you have access to the whole network. As far as getting communications from that chapter, you might have to reach out to them directly, or please feel free to reach out to me directly so I can make sure that you get put on their list, since you won't be associated with them in our system. But we're happy to do so. So yeah, it's not just your local chapter. AFCEA is global and your membership provides you access to all of that. And then how do the different chapters of Emerging Leaders communicate and learn from each other? So this had fallen off a little bit during COVID, but we plan to resurrect this following TechNet Cyber this year. We're going to have a business meeting at TechNet Cyber on Monday and discuss the program with everybody that's able to attend there. And then after that, we'll start having quarterly calls that are going to be with the Emerging Leaders Advisory Council and then every emerging leader VP for the chapters. So that way we'll be able to easily disseminate information to everybody from the top down quarterly.
Hey guys, this is Stephanie again. So just to build on what Allison said, for example, I live in the Boston area, but I'm actually a member of the Hawaii chapter. And so that was a decision just because most of my work on our nonprofit side is based there. So it was a business decision for me, but you don't have to be a member based on where you live. So that's a good thing. And then Parker did a great job summarizing some of the technical opportunities. There's other committees as well. Obviously, you're able to be part of Emerging Leaders, but AFCEA is not just Emerging Leaders. There's so much more beyond that. Technical committees. Allison runs our IDEA program, which has the Women's Committee and a lot of different initiatives going on. So there's a ton of different ways to get involved. And I think Kim said it, but you get out of AFCEA what you put into it. And there's, one of the things that I love and the reasons why I've stayed involved for so long is that the organization will scale and flex with you depending on what you need at that point in your career. So I love AFCEA, can't say enough about it, and just really happy with the discussion and seeing all these new people and everybody's comments today. Thank you.
So I didn't really have any questions, just kind of more of a comment, but just wanted to say is that, I've been connected with Parker here in Austin, and he's done a really great job of just getting me exposed to what you guys do, which is why I didn't really have any questions. I feel like I got a lot of really good information, but just wanted to comment and say, like, it's already been super helpful. I'm kind of newer to the risk and security space, and so he and I have already had a lot of great conversations about just getting used to different like terms and technology and all that kind of stuff, and that's been really helpful. So yeah, excited to stay plugged in and keep getting involved. So, and thank you guys for today. This is really great. So, great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I want to say thanks to our panelists so much. LeVar, Kim, Lorenzo, Parker, you guys were awesome. Learned a lot, even being involved in AFCEA, but you guys have so much great insight and stuff to bring. So hopefully we can do another one of these in the future, and people make sure to send feedback our way, and we will send the slide deck out. And thanks to Veronica and Allison for putting this together, and Xander. But I'll leave it there.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.